Good afternoon. Welcome to the Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Commission, Wednesday, September 21st, 4 p.m. Call the meeting to order. We request that all participants and commissioners and staff keep your microphones muted unless you're speaking. Because we're using Zoom, I will be asking comments from each commissioner as we go through the presentation. At the end of each presentation, if you have a question during the presentation, please raise your hand. With that, we'll go to roll call. Amber?
All right, Chair Morgan.
Here.
Vice Chair Amanfor? Not here. Commissioner Duncan?
Here.
Commissioner Griffin is not here. Commissioner Nunling?
Here.
Commissioner Osmany?
Here.
Commissioner Ramos?
Here.
Commissioner Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Sajabu?
Here.
Commissioner Starks is not here, and Commissioner Wu is not here.
Here.
Are you
I'm here.
Okay, you are here. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comment? Go ahead and read the public comment script first, and then I'll ask that question.
Persons wishing to address the commission on subjects not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the commission may do so at this time. The commission cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting, but they may briefly respond to statements made or questions raised by the public. Members of the public with questions are encouraged to contact staff before or after the meeting. To speak on an agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item. And I have no requests to speak.
Okay. Can you read the consent item, please?
All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a commissioner or the public requests that separate action be taken on a specific item.
Okay. We have 2 items on consent. Can I get a motion for consent? I
So
see.
you do that. I do have a question on number 2, so I don't know if that needs to be pulled off. It's relatively minor questions.
Go ahead, Cecil.
Oh, you're muted again somehow.
Sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I noticed under recommendation, it talked about, all the changes, which were all fine. I did notice under recommendation item number 3, it says the executive director or her designee to make non-substantive changes to the plan. I'm perfectly in agreement with that. Is it just that if there are, because there may not be any, but if there are, could we just get a little report back on any other changes that are not noted here? If that's possible. That was one question. And then the other one on background, I noticed that it listed, it has a section there and it says there were 5 changes, and it does list the 5 changes. And then for the public housing program, and then it listed 13 changes proposed by the HCV program. However, it only lists 10. Were there another 3 somewhere else, or I just didn't catch why it was 13 on one and 10 on the other side?
Okay, I'm going to bring in Trish and Maria. They worked on this and they can help answer questions.
Okay.
Hi, this is Maria with the Housing Choice Voucher Department. So when we work on our individual plans, we are different in the retrospect of public housing needs are different than Housing Choice Voucher. So we don't make the same changes to both plans. For example, public housing made the change this time around with cameras. Housing Choice Voucher doesn't have any kind of reference of cameras in our plan. So they are different based on the requirement for each plan that's what's needed for public housing versus Housing Choice Voucher.
I believe, Maria, if I could just jump in, I think in the actual staff report, it says there were 13 and only 10. And if I recall, I thought some of those were administrative. If you could go to the staff report, is that correct?
Let me pull that up.
Well, while you're pulling that up, Maria, Trish, could you respond to the previous question by Commissioner Nunley?
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Trish Simpson from Public Housing. How are you? Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so to help answer the question, I believe that we had 5 that we put into the staff report, but then when we meet with the public, like LSNC and the board, the RAB board, then they may have the same issues or different issues. So that's why we had the additional letter that we're including today.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. And you guys will automatically approve and everything else. And you don't have to bring it back to us to get an approval or anything like that. Just if there's a quick report out or information item that just says this 1 or 2 items, there may not be any, but if there are just these 1 or 2 items were changed, just so you know, that's all that I'm asking.
Yeah, my experience is that's pretty rare. And if there are changes, sometimes they're just administrative, like there's a typo or something of that number, of that magnitude. They do give the PHA the kind of latitude to make minor administrative changes without starting the process all over. But I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Maria, did you have a chance to take a look at the change between 10 versus 13?
I did. We put the top 10 significant. The other 3 were minor, a correction to something that we had corrected last year. So they weren't a significant change that needed to have review. So that was the difference.
Okay, so they had already been incorporated is what you're, I guess.
We had a change on our side. We had missed one section where we made a change to our criminal from the prior year. So when we release our significant changes document, and that was in the last meeting, we did a change where we made for criminal, there was a change from the prior year. So in our actual significant changes document, we listed 13, but a couple of them, I'm pulling up both items right here, were just corrections from the prior year. So there was a criminal section that we submitted last year that we missed one chapter and didn't do an update. So that's not a significant change to our admin plan, but it is a change that we had to make in the admin plan.
Thank you.
Yes, I think in the future, what might be helpful as you bring this up, Commissioner Nunley, is that you kind of see what that side-by-side comparison, and if they were administrative, then we probably should just state that so that it reconciles.
Yeah, thank
Is
you.
that kind of where you're coming? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I will take a motion to approve the consent calendar.
You're muted, Cecile.
I will make the motion since
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Chair Morgan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Manfor, see here. Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Commissioner Nunley,
Aye.
Commissioner Osmani,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Ross,
Aye.
Commissioner Stajabu,
Aye.
and Commissioner Wu.
Aye.
And it starts here.
All right. Thank you very much. I trust that one carries. That takes us to discussion, business item number 3. Can you go ahead and read that for us so I don't tangle my tongue all up on it?
All right. Resolution 2022-7. Oh, sorry. Am I on the wrong one?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
you're right one.
Sorry. 39th and Broadway project, authorization to execute an amended loan commitment letter, authorization to amend the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency budget to allocate $750,000 in home investment partnership funds and $750,000 mixed income housing funds to the project, approval to execute funding agreement with related California or related entity, approval of environmental findings. And we have Christine here to talk about that.
All right, welcome, Christine.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Christine Weikert with Development Finance, and the report before you request approval of an additional $1.5 million in funding for the 39th and Broadway Senior Apartments project. In June 2021, SHRA entered into a disposition and development agreement with related company for 5 Housing Authority owned parcels located at 39th Street and Broadway. In addition, $6.1 million in loan funds were approved for the new 43-unit development consisting of studios and 1 bedroom with affordability restrictions between 30 and 60% of area median income. Since June of 2021, developer has been awarded 9% tax credit and $1.9 million in state funds. They have submitted planning entitlements and begun environmental cleanup activities, which will be completed this fall. But due to recent construction costs and interest rate increases, staff is recommending an additional funds to fill the current $1.5 million gap. This need for additional funding at this time is not unique to this project. We have seen many projects with construction cost increases recently. John Stewart Company will be the property manager, and Life Matters will provide on-site resident services. And when complete, this development will be managed in conjunction with the Arbors at Oak Park, an existing adjacent 56-unit development, also built and owned by Related. The closing staff is requesting approval of the additional funding, and construction should begin early next year. And staff's available to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Question of commissioners. Cecilia, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. And it's just this, again, simple, hopefully. AMI, which is, what was it? The area median income.
Yeah, correct.
Right now, what is the area median income for our area?
Usually we put that in your staff report. We may have left that out, and if we did this time, I apologize. For Sacramento, maybe Lachelle is better at remembering these things. Sometimes I am off the cuff. I think for one person, are you thinking of like the 30%? You just want to know what the area median income is?
Yeah, just the AMI, because
I'm gonna look this up unless Lachelle.
I'm sorry to put you guys on the spot.
No. I usually know these things, but I just don't this time. Okay, so for like one person, so just that 100% of area median income in Sacramento right now, it's $71,000. So that's how much they'd make in a given year. And since this development is pretty much going to be for one person per unit. So for example, this starts with 30% area median income. So these residents will start at $21,000 or less, I think, annually, up to $42,000 annually. So those will be the incomes we're targeting.
Okay, and these are seniors,
these are seniors.
Which is really something to note, because we're talking about very low income seniors, so they're probably living on just their Social Security or something like that. And this is really, really something that we need for our community. So I just wanted to make that. And I saw that a lot of this, as you said in the report, 630,000, I believe, was just for the remediation from an adjacent property that had the cleaners on it and that type of thing. And I assume the other portion, as you said, interest rates and then construction costs went through the roof and certain other things and all of those that just.
Absolutely. Everything in construction, especially lumber. But you're right, lumber has been like a 15-20% increase, usually, or sometimes more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I thank you so much for the report, and thank you for looking that up for me so quick.
Sure.
Sorry.
All right, other questions? I see Martin has his hand up.
Well, it's not a question, it's more of a statement. So
Okay.
I agree with Commissioner Nunley's, and in the general costs are up, costs are up for everyone. A project like this needs to happen, and because people need it. So I'm in support of it. That's all I want to say. I just,
All right. Cecile, go ahead.
I forgot one other question I thought was interesting. It may have been on this or something else. When it talked about the parking spaces, and I think it's half a parking space per unit. And so it was 21. And then they listed something about 4 that were tucked parking units. And I went, what is a tuck parking unit?
Those are, the first floor of the building is actually the second floor. And so you have this space between the ground and the second floor. You can tuck under parking, they can put parking underneath the building. I don't know if that's a great explanation, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I was just curious. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, is there any public comment on this?
We have none.
All right. In that case, I'll take a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right.
Motion by Nunley, second by Duncan. Roll call.
Chair Morgan,
Aye.
Vice Chair Manfor,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Commissioner Nunley,
Aye.
Commissioner Osmany,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos,
Aye.
Commissioner Ross,
aye.
Commissioner Stajabu, Commissioner Starks,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wu.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That will take us to the presentations. Our first item is number 4, budget workshop for public housing.
All right, so we're going to bring in Cheyenne and Suzette to go through that for you guys.
Hello.
I'll share my screen. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Cheyenne Caraway. I'm an Assistant Director in the Public Housing Department. Today I'll be providing you with a review of the planned budget for the Public Housing Department for the 2023 calendar year. This slide shows the relative expenses that the Public Housing Department is looking to incur in 2023 versus SHRA as a whole. The Public Housing Department consists of the following sectors. Housing Authority Property Management. This is the team that handles the day-to-day operations of the properties that the Housing Authorities own and manage. There are 2 portfolios, each managed by a portfolio manager. Those portfolios are broken up into 5 regions. In each region, there are different asset management projects, which are staffed with our community property representatives and our customer service representatives. Housing Authority Maintenance helps to address the site, building, and unit repairs that are necessary for ongoing operation. The org structure has 2 maintenance supervisors, 2 maintenance coordinators, and maintenance personnel assigned to each region. Resident Services consists of the Resident Opportunity Self-Sufficiency, ROS, Family Self-Sufficiency, FSS, and Resident Training Programs. ROS and FSS are funded through HUD grants, and the resident training programs are funded through the use of capital funds and operating subsidies. RAD is the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, which allows the Housing Authority to convert public housing units to a Section 8 housing platform, while allowing housing authorities to perform rehabilitation on its aging portfolio. There are various funding sources for the Public Housing Department. These sources allow for the Housing Authority to provide a total of 3,371 units of affordable housing for over 7,600 extremely low, very low, and low-income persons, including children, seniors, and disabled individuals. The Public Housing Program provides 2,155 apartments, duplexes, and single-family homes to qualified low-income families. There are 1,508 units in the city of Sacramento and 640 units in the county of Sacramento. This is
housing is owned, managed, and maintained by the Housing Authority, making it one of the largest landlords in Sacramento County. The Housing Authority also owns and manages 271 affordable units comprised of tax credit funding projects and other local and state funded projects. The nonprofit arm, Sacramento Housing Authority Repositioning Program, Inc., SHRA, owns 3 project-based high-rise buildings consisting of 231 elderly-only units, 274 scattered site project-based units, and 440 rental assistance demonstration and/or project-based units. The Housing Authority continues to provide property management for all of these properties. There are multiple funding streams for public housing. The majority originates with HUD in the form of operating subsidies and capital funds. The remainder comes through tenant rents and resident services grants, such as ROS and FSS. Operating subsidy allows for rents to be affordable while also providing enough revenue to manage and maintain properties. While the numbers seem to increase, it's important to note that the funding provided is not often the funding needed to operate. Proration of subsidy have been as low as 70% in the past, with 2023 projecting to be closer to 100% of funding. Capital funds are always extremely underfunded, despite the increase that the graph shows. The amounts of deferred needs always outweigh the amounts of capital funds provided. This underfunding is what led to the creation of recapitalization and repositioning programs like the Section 18 disposition process or the rental assistance demonstration program. The increase in capital funds over the last 5 years are what allowed the RAD concept to pencil out. In previous years, there would have been operating shortfalls if the Housing Authority had pursued RAD transactions for its properties. These capital funds are used for site improvements, unit improvements, building infrastructure, training programs, and pre-development capital loans for RAD projects. These are the planned uses for the capital funds for the 2023 calendar year, as submitted in our Public Housing Authority plans. Again, these funds are used for site improvements and unit improvements, ranging from items such as tree maintenance, to lighting, to replacing balconies, replacing roofs, and they help fund training programs. We're anticipating to receive right around $7.7 million in capital funds for 2023. The Resident Services Program is funded through grants that are generally awarded on a multi-year basis. The grant funds help to support staffing for these programs and an opportunity for residents to work towards goals. These programs are designed to connect participant families with supportive services, empowerment activities, financial literacy, training opportunities, local employers, and job placement organizations, with the ultimate goal of helping residents become self-sufficient. These are some of the resident services achievements for 2022 thus far. And again, this year, COVID continued to limit our number of engaged participants. In 2022, so far, we have 38 city FSS participants, 30 county FSS participants, 144 city ROS participants, 46 county ROS participants, and the participants that were enrolled with the county ROS program received school supplies, and resident services was able to assist with COVID vaccine clinics at various public housing sites. The resident training program is a component of the resident services branch of the department. This program is funded through public housing capital funds and operating funds. This program provides educational and training in the areas of clerical, janitorial, and paint. Currently, there are 4 trainees enrolled in the program, and 2 others have graduated so far this year. In 2018, the agency renewed its asset repositioning plan for our public housing assets. A plan was implemented to address $130 million in capital needs, where we established a 7 to 10 year plan, a development plan. Some of the projects thus far that have undergone RAD are our RAD pilot, which is our very first RAD project. This project started in 2018 and finished construction in 2021. Central City 1, which is currently under construction, will be completed a little later this year. And Central City 2 has received the preliminary award of tax credit funding and is anticipated to start construction in mid-2023. Here's one of the properties this year that is currently going through RAD. This is Capitol Terrace, which is located in Midtown. Some of the items that were addressed at this site is we repaired, pressure washed, and painted the exterior of the building. The elevators are having a complete upgrade, including replacing motors and retrofitting the elevator cars. We added the capacity to plug in a backup generator for the building. There were insufficient interior appliances, and we addressed this with new stoves and new refrigerators. And these units had the original finishes, which were from the 70s. We addressed this with new bathroom and kitchen furnishes, including cabinets, countertops, and luxury vinyl plank flooring. Had we not utilized SHRA for this property, this would not have been affordable. The construction cost for this project is a little over $12 million. Here are just a few of the 2022 public housing accomplishments so far. Over 1,800 work orders were completed in the first 8 weeks of 2022. We were down a good deal of maintenance positions impacted by the Great Resignation, and we were able to recruit and hire all vacant positions. We launched the SWEET program, which provides on-the-job training for new maintenance staff. 2 resident trainees from the training program graduated. 1 family from the Family Self-Sufficiency participant graduated. 1 participant from our maintenance apprenticeship program graduated, and we maintained an overall occupancy rate above 95%. And some of our 2023 future goals, well, since federal funding continues to be unstable, we continue to pursue additional federal and non-federal grant funding. The grants will allow us to expand services and resources to our residents, providing greater literacy, job opportunities, and support for our elderly and family households. Similarly, resources garnered through RAD conversions and tax credit properties could allow us to supplement cuts in public housing subsidies and retain deep levels of affordability to our very low and low-income residents. We continue to pursue measures to increase efficiencies in our management operation through increased training, technological advances in our operations, and standardizing of our operating procedures across the board. This will afford us the opportunity to maintain a successful property management team. But before I end my presentation, I'd like to thank and acknowledge some of our public housing staff for their continued hard work day in and day out. They are truly phenomenal, and we could not achieve any of the accomplishments we endeavor without them. And I'd like to introduce we have 2 portfolio managers. We have Diana Pop and Kristen Gore. And I'd like to acknowledge our regional managers. We have Robbie Folk, Tanisha Tucker, Maria Velasquez, Ricky Jones, Judy Castillo, and our resident services program manager, Julius Austin. And now staff are happy to answer any questions you might have, and I'd like to thank everyone for your attention and your time.
All right, thank you. Questions of commissioners? Jasmine.
So I had a quick question regarding the capital grant funds. I saw on slide 7 that there's a lot of variety in how those funds are being used. Is there a requirement that has to be met for something to fall into the category to use those funds specifically?
Shine, I can answer that question if you want.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Commissioner. Yes, there are rules pertaining to how that grant has to be used. It's spelled out in the Capital Fund Handbook. So basically, you can only use Capital Fund for capital improvements. So like doing building improvements or site improvements or doing improvements within units. But you can also carve out a piece for operations, which goes to help fund some of our training programs. So there are very specified uses for those count funds.
Okay, that's kind of where I was confused because I saw the training in there, but I thought for some reason that they had to be used for more physical aspects like building improvements. So thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
Martin, you're up next.
Not a question, it's more of a statement again. So I commend SHRA and this particular department on the training aspect of getting residents involved in doing job opportunities. It's extremely important. I think that's great. Like to see more people involved in those programs. I don't know, what kind of recruitment is done, fully for that. But, you know, I just wanted to say that I think that's fantastic. So more of those efforts need to, well, I believe more of those efforts should continue to get more people, because everybody, there's always dignity in work. You know, if you can, you know, do it, and it improves everyone. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Cecile.
Hello there. Thank you so much for the presentation. I did have a question. I guess it's slide number 4, which has the pie diagram that shows the funding sources anticipated for 2023 in millions. And I believe under operating subsidy, it's 21.2 million. Do I have that correct? And then
Yes, that is correct.
the next page, it talks about operating subsidy, which I'm assuming is talking about that piece of the pie, but it only has the 10.7. Is there something I'm missing or misinterpreting?
No, actually, sorry, so that should be, Commissioner, that should be 21.2 on slide number 5.
On slide number 5.
Yes,
Okay,
correct. I apologize about that.
okay. And then the other one that follows on the capital fund, it is the 7.7, which does match the pie. Okay.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, and then you didn't have a chart like this for the tenant rent and other fees of the 11.1. Just wondering about that, if that, because since you had it for the 3 biggest ones, it seems like it would follow that you would also have it for that one. And I don't know if it's because maybe for several years there was nothing, it was flat, and then it was only for a few years or something like that. Is there any reason why? I mean, the first 2 you had the charts, which was kind of nice so that we could see the history, and, you know, the funding's not always there and there's other factors and that type of thing.
No, we can absolutely, if that's a request in future, have that in presentations.
And do you have the number in terms of what was the amount that we collect on tenant rents? It is a significant amount. Not enough to cover all of the operations, but it is significant. So maybe before the end of the meeting, if someone could pull that number and we could report that out.
Okay. But I do think this is a very important program. I agree with Commissioner Ross. It's really nice to see, and it's nice to see all of the good work that's being done. So thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate it.
And just to follow up in terms of the comment made by Commissioner Ross, we are very interested in continuing to expand our resident trainee program. I believe Julius Austin, who's our new head of resident services, I think I saw him on the call. We're really going to be working very aggressively to expand, to do recruitment. We were slowed down by COVID. As a result of that, you know, it was just very difficult, and, you know, so much was going on. So we didn't have an opportunity to do the level of outreach and offer as many opportunities. But now that we're tending around the corner, then we are looking to expand that.
Can't talk with my mic off here. Excuse me. Any other questions? And did staff get an answer to the question yet? Apparently not. Okay. I've got some really good noise going on outside my window here. Somebody's car with their stereo. I can hardly hear you guys. So,
if I can add something regarding the tenant income. So the tenant income usually is pretty static throughout its same amount each year. So it's not going to vary much from what's already there. So we can provide it, but it will just vary very little of that. Yeah, it's pretty static because they only pay a certain percentage of their income. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate you finding it so quickly.
Did you find the actual numbers, Suzette?
No, I just see that it was pretty static. Let me.
If we cross programs, it's about 750,000. I think.
All right, we'll check.
It was like 10.7 in the previous year.
Okay.
10.7 million. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That sounds about, yeah, that sounds more in line.
Okay. I was remembering from a couple, 3 years ago.
Yeah, and you're projecting the 11.1 for next year, so 10.7, it sounds like it's very much right in line. And the little bit that gets eaten up with inflation, that can be easily explained, so thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? And I can hear you, that car has moved on. Okay. With that, then we'll move on to item 5, budget workshop for the development department. Oh, before we do that, was there any public comment on that, Amber?
There is not.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on.
Thank you.
So for the development department, Christine is going to be doing the presentation.
Yes, good to see you all again. Let me share my screen. Share. Hopefully you can see that. Should say development department 2023 budget. Okay, great. So yes, I'm happy to be the one presenting our development department budget, and those have been on the commission a while know that Tyrone usually used to do this, so I cannot, hold the candle to him, but I'll try to do my best here. So, so with the development department, we are made up of several different functions. The one that you probably see the most coming before you is our housing finance staff. We finance multifamily developments, just like 39th and Broadway, which you saw earlier tonight. Once we do our financing, we have both compliance monitoring and portfolio management staff to follow up on those projects to make sure they are leasing to and providing the services they're meant to. Of course, we also provide housing policy implementation for both the city and the county of Sacramento. So that can be, implementation of the single room occupancy ordinances, the housing trust fund ordinances, helping with the housing element, any sort of functions that the city and county have with housing. Another probably 2 or 3 different big parts of our department are the federal programs. Those are the administration of the various programs. There are 4 of them that I'll get into later in our presentation. Of course, there's Mirasol Village, which I know many of you are familiar with, which is a huge initiative of the development department. And lastly, we oversee and do the asset management for the agency's nonprofits. So I'm going to go through each of those. But before I do, I don't want to forget to tell you that while we have a lot of activities, our department makes up 2.58% of the agency budget. So one of the smaller departments. So in 2022, we committed over $57 million in loan funds. And we also issued over $100 million of mortgage revenue bonds for 3 projects. The RAD 3 project, Mirasol B, and River City Trio. And I'll go through those projects that we provide the loans to in the following slide. Looking forward to next year. These are the funds we received together between the city and the county for affordable housing, primarily multifamily affordable housing developments, about $16 million a year, a little over 16.5. Those come from, HOME, which is a federal source that we administer on behalf of the city and county of Sacramento. And as you know, we usually provide those funds, basically always provide those funds in the form of a loan to affordable housing developers. And then we have, the different local funding sources of the Housing Trust Fund, which is both in the city and the county. And it's a fee on new commercial development in those jurisdictions. And then the mixed income and the affordable housing fees are based on residential development. So as new residential or commercial developments occurring in Sacramento, the city and the county assess developers a fee, and then those pass those fees on to SHRA. Of course, those numbers, this is an estimate. We're just estimating next year. If there's the more new construction and building and there is, the more fees we receive. So that's just an estimate. Lastly, the last source of funds we use for affordable housing financing is the permanent local housing allocation. It's a fairly new funding source provided to us by the state of California. It's a it's a fee on transfer tax. So as properties transfer or sold, there's a fee that's assessed, and those fees are put towards affordable housing. So again, about $16.5 million next year is what we anticipate. So this is I find this a very exciting slide because, you know, this year in 2022, we saw the completion of over 400 affordable housing units. But under construction, we have over 1,500, and a good third of those, 572 of those units, are homeless housing units. So we're going to see a lot of homeless housing units be completed in the coming year. I'm very excited. It's like, well, it is a big number, which we work very hard to get. So we're excited about that. But in the pipeline, we have several projects. Most of these will come to you or already have come to you as the commission for financing, but they just need to receive their final bits of funding will close and construction will begin on them shortly. So, and of course, we leverage many state programs like No Place Like Home and local housing trust funds to add to our local funding to make these projects happen. So single family, we do single family development. We do have a small down payment assistance program occurring right now. We've helped 13 families this year with some down payment assistance. We used to receive more funds from the state for this program than we do now, but hopefully we'll get more funding in the future. A big one that we saw happen in 22 complete was the completion of Del Paso Nuevo. It was a subdivision that literally took the agency over 20 years to complete, but we did complete it. It was over 325 new homes in 6 or 7 different phases, but I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I know Angela Jones, our PIO, is working on a film video to share with all of you about Del Paso Nuevo at a coming commission meeting. But those of us that work on it are very excited to complete. We're working on the construction of 10 Habitat homes right now, but there are more of those that will be coming forward in 2013 as well. Just want to highlight our home key projects. There have been 2 rounds of home key funding so far. Home key is state funds that are fairly competitive, but you apply and you can convert motels, hotels, other non-residential structures into permanent supportive housing or homeless housing developments. In the first round, I think we talked to you last year about La Mancha, but this year we were very successful in getting 2 projects financed. Over almost $50 million of home key projects we brought to the city of Sacramento. Central Sacramento Studios was literally across the street from our office here, and Vista Nueva, which is more focused on families. That's in North Natomas, but together 210 units. And just a reminder, we used about $13 million of agency administered funds to match that $50 million to make those 2 motels happen. Just Vista Nueva, I'm sure we'll be having a big groundbreaking for, but that'll be occupied, or grand opening for, excuse me, that'll be occupied later this year, and Central Sac Studios early next year. We hope to have at least a couple of Hope motels in the county to bring before the commission early next year for financing for the 3rd round of home key. And again, just wanted to highlight how many loans and projects we have in our portfolio. We have 4 staff that it is their job to monitor both our loan portfolio that's worth over $390 million. We review tenant files of almost 22,000 units in total. Not all files get reviewed, but so we review tenant files. We do several, audits, confirmations. We do certifications. We review resident services, single family loans, just a whole bunch of things that go on behind the scenes, but to make sure that our work is good for up to 55 years for these affordable housing developments. I think Cheyenne did a good job of sort of summarizing the SHRA, one of our 3 main nonprofits that we do the asset management for here in our department. SHRA was primarily set up to be the nonprofit that owned the former public housing development. So you can see the list of those. And again, Cheyenne went through those. Another nonprofit we have is the Shasta Housing Corporation that owns Shasta Hotel, and Norwood Housing Corporation, which owns Phoenix Park phases 1 and 2. But together, those 3 nonprofits own affiliates of the agencies, makes up over 1,800 units. So that's a lot. And we have a staff person, Stephen, who helps us administer all those assets, but it's a lot of work. And of course, no presentation development would be complete without talking about Marisol Village. Marisol Village is gone literally from, I think, 218 very old public housing units into, basically a new community. You can see some of these new pictures. They're great. I think Victoria is on the line if people have questions about Marisol Village, but just to go through some of the accomplishments from this year. Of course, all the infrastructure is complete. We have the grand opening for the park and community gardens. We have residents moving back in of the 227 units that are just either complete or just about complete. We have started construction on another 84 units. Got the funding for the early childhood education center. So just a ton of good stuff happening at Marisol. And next year, looking forward to all the developments being complete and construction of that education child education center. Not to mention the start of the new light rail station. So that's exciting for Marisol next year. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is our federal programs department, and they oversee several grants that HUD provides to us. This year, a lot of the community development block grant dollars that you saw and approved in the city went to park projects, not all, but a lot of park improvements. And of course, these have to go to low and moderate income neighborhoods. In the county, the same thing, a lot of community buildings, community amenities in low income areas. So I'm just not going to read them off, but a list of developments there that were complete this year. And then, next year, we are going to actually at your next meeting be bringing forward the 2023 action plan, which will list out all the projects that we want to do in 2023 for these different funding sources. This is just sort of a preview. Again, community development block grant funds can be used for sort of improvements to low income neighborhoods, emergency shelter grants, those just what it sounds like for shelters, housing opportunities for people with AIDS. And then, of course, home funds, which I went over as part of the affordable housing financing funding sources. Again, a sort of a preview, a lot of street improvements in lower income neighborhoods in the city and the county, street lights and things like that. We'll also, as part of CDBG, be talking about next week the home repair program we have in the lead abatement program and sort of our safety net programs like Meals and Wheels. So again, we'll talk more about that next week. But as I started out the presentation saying, we're kind of a small department. I think there's only about 20 of us. But I just wanted to, before I left, I just wanted to thank all of them. I think our managers, Victoria Johnson and Celia Iniges and Whitney Bonner, are all available for questions, but this is our staff, and we want to thank them because they work very, very hard and do so much. So to get all the projects out and complete and then monitored over the years. So with that, I will stop sharing and ask if you have any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? We'll go to Commissioner Ross first. Martin, go ahead.
Thank you. So yes, nice presentation. I went to the Marisol Village at the grand opening, or one of the grand openings, and it was really cool. I like that. So I'll have one question that has to do with that, but one has to do with the 111 million mortgage revenue. So I don't know, I just wanted to get clarification. So SHRA gets revenue from the loans that we give out, or I just wanted some explanation. I'm not really sure I'm understanding whose mortgage it is that we
Sure,
get
let
revenue
me-
from.
Yeah, I'll give it a stab. Of course, Michelle's always welcome to add if she wants to, but so we're an issuer. We're allowed to be as the housing authority an issuer of bonds, which means that we're committing that the affordable housing developments that we're issuing bonds for have a public good, a public benefit. And well, there's no money that we provide. What we're saying is we're going to issue an amount of bonds, and then that developer will take that bond issuance statement and go to a bank typically, and the bank will provide the funding at a lower interest rate because we have said that this is a community benefit. So it's really bank financing, but without our review and underwriting and monitoring of the project for 55 years, and without our work, those funds wouldn't be realized, right? That wouldn't go to affordable housing development.
So so when it says revenue, whose revenue is it? Maybe you said that. Revenue to whom?
Mortgage revenue bonds, it's just like funds. They're from the bank to an affordable housing developer.
Okay.
Michelle, is there another way to?
Well, it's I'm trying to think, maybe it's like the people.
The term revenue is what's throwing me off. That seems like it's income.
Yeah, it's like when you buy.
And you're saying it's not income, right? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's I guess akin to when you purchase a home, there's actual money that exchanges. Whereas here we put kind of our stamp of approval so that they can take it to the bank and the money can exchange. Is that a good way to
So they're paying their
Christine?
mortgage. They're paying their mortgage to the bank that loans them.
Yes,
so it's
but
actually
because
it's
the
bank
issuance
revenue
right
at a lower interest rate.
Yes,
Got it.
because we put our stamp of approval in terms of its public purpose.
I understand. So I was just trying to see where the revenue went.
That is an actually excellent question.
Okay.
Yes, very good question.
Okay, thank you. Now I know. Okay, so right, we give the stamp of approval, they get a lower interest rate, they're paying a mortgage at a lowest interest rate for the public good to the bank, which normally would have charged them at a higher interest rate. That's good, public good. All right, second question, Marisol Village. So how do we make sure, and I know there's a group that's there that monitors it, but I would just, because there's a lot of people there, right? And I'm just wondering, how do we make sure that it stays positive, like all the other positive things that are happening there? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just remember like the show Good Times, and the development, people took over and they wanted to run it the way they wanted to run it because there's so many people in a particular area, and versus their own, individual home. So I was just wondering, how do we monitor that there's safety? If there's people who want to, try to, take over, not for the common good, how do we make sure that that doesn't happen?
Well, this is really no different than what the agency does on many other projects. I think the best example is Phoenix Park, which was really a very troubled neighborhood that was known as Franklin Villa until we stepped in, revitalized it completely. And we still keep our eyes on it. We We manage that through our Norwood, one of those nonprofits that Christine was talking about. And we actually have John Stewart Company is the property manager, but we are very, very close to it. If there's any inclination that there is undesirable situations going on, we jump in immediately. We have connections with the, with law enforcement, also social services, all of the things that really keep a very tight handle on that. And over the 15 years, I'm very proud to say, it's still Phoenix Park. It's not Franklin Villa, and that's because of our close oversight and monitoring of any development that SHRA is in. And it's the same thing that will happen with Mirasol Village as well, is that, we are always looking to not only just protect our investment, but to protect the residents who live there so that that community is thriving.
That's excellent. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So just curious.
We don't finance and walk away. We're in it for the long game.
All right. Thank you.
No good times here.
And good to hear the transition from Franklin to Phoenix. So that's good. All right. Thank you both.
All right. Thank you, Martin. Any other commissioners? Don't see anybody jumping up. Is there any public comment, Amber?
We have no public comments.
All right. That will take us on to the executive director's report.
So first of all, really, again, like to thank the Cheyenne and the team for the great report on our public housing budget, and Christine and her small but mighty team that just does absolutely amazing work. It's been a difficult 2 years in terms of managing through COVID, but despite that, still showing a lot of great success stories and things moving forward. So a big thank you to them. So I have a couple of items under the executive director's report. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 5th. And so please make sure that's on your calendars, October 5th via teleconference. Still no new updates on the commission room camera, still waiting on the ETA report. So we're still continuing to work on that, and we'll keep you updated as things change. And then 2 events that are coming up is the 8th annual Walk for Literacy event is going to be held on Saturday, October 1st at McClatchy Park, which is 3500 5th Avenue. We're sponsoring a team of employees to participate in the walk. It says 50 employees to participate in the walk, and that helps raise funds and awareness to combat the literacy crisis in Sacramento. We feel very strongly in terms of literacy for the families that we serve, and have worked very, very close in partnership with the Literacy Foundation for many years. So yes, so that is going on. It's a very family-friendly event, and to raise awareness, it's a 4-mile walk, which is approximately 10,000 steps. So if you are trying to get your steps in that day, you can come out and get it all done for a good cause. And there'll be kind of entertainment and booths and all that. It's a really great opportunity. So if you need more information, please just let us know. We'll make sure we also send this out to you as well. And then just another reminder about Vista Nueva ribbon cutting is coming up on October 13th at 10:30 a.m. This is one of the projects that Christine was talking about, a home key project specifically for families with children. So very, very excited to start welcoming the new participants, new residents to that particular development of the former State Bridge Suites. So please keep that on your calendar. And that's everything that I have.
All right, thank you. From my end, I successfully made it back from Florida. Unfortunately, I did not bring their good weather back with me. As soon as I got back, it got cold and rainy here. So, but if you see me in person, you'll notice I'm a little bit darker than I was when I left. So I had a good time there. So maybe, Lachelle, we could look into doing something about the microphone that Cheyenne was using. It was cutting out quite a bit. I don't know if there's funds to make an improvement on that. I noticed a couple of presenters have had a problem with it. I don't know if that's something that's,
Yeah, we'll work on that. I did notice that, and I was wondering, was it just me? But apparently not. So I was like, is it me? I'm not hearing parts of what she's saying. So we'll work on that in terms of the microphone quality. But thank you for that.
as much as we're spending on the cameras and everything in the commission room, maybe we could find one little microphone that would work for it. So, all right, thank you. And with that, we'll open it up to comments and remarks by commissioners and announcements. Anything. Don't see anybody waving their hand. Nobody jumping up and down.
I'm recovered from COVID, but yeah.
Cool. It's always a good thing.
Yeah.
With that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Have a good night, all. Thank you for being here.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Take care.